I'd like to share something, and this is a historical story. This is a story that was passed down all the way, and it made it all the way to Kansas, where the Wyandot were removed from Ohio and Detroit when they were forcibly removed. But this is a story that came through the families, and it's about when everybody lived, well, when there was a group of Wyandot living in Detroit area. And at that time, there was a lot of tribes that lived around Detroit just because it was a good trading place. So they would often winter there. They would bring all their furs, they would bring all their the things they would gather, hunting and gathering, and they would make trades at the fort for different things they wanted. Well, a lot of tribes were represented in that area. So there were Potawatomis and Anishinaabe and Iroquois speakers, all kinds, would meet there and trade. And in this one particular time, there was a boy who was an Anishinaabe boy and a Wyandot, and they came together, and they could speak a little of their languages are very different. It's like English and Chinese, Anishinaabe, and Algonquin languages and Iroquois languages are just like that different. But because they trade all the time, they could speak kind of a basic. And they decided they're going to play a moccasin game. It's an easy game to play. All you have to do is take your moccasins off and lay them upside down on the ground on a blanket. So they would do that, 4 moccasins, and upside down. One of them would take a lead ball, a musket ball, and there was a chance thing about who would start first, but they would whoever was selected to start first would pretend to hide that ball under the moccasins. He would just by looking at them straight in the face, and he'd be hiding it, and then eventually he put his hands away, and then the person would have to guess. There's different rules on these games. And so they'd have to decide, how it was to be played in the beginning. There's one rule I heard was the first time you tap the moccasin with a stick and you say, it's not this one. If it is that one, you lose. You lose 5 points right there. So there's a way of counting and all that. So anyway, they had to decide on how they're gonna play. But these 2 boys, they got into it, and they had a lot of stuff they brought with them. They brought all their furs, they brought deer hides, and they started playing. And this one Anishinaabe guy just started losing terribly. And he just kept losing, and he was getting frustrated. He was getting so angry, and he saw his pile of furs just get smaller and smaller. And, he'd bet his knife, and then toward the end, he said, my gun, against your gun. And the Wyandot boy is just going, you need that, no, let's draw a stop to it. Let's just stop. And everybody else was saying, stop, just stop. This is going too far. Now, all during these games, they have songs that they're somewhat taunting songs. Some of them are pretty casual. They're not real pounding kind of songs, but each would kind of play against the other. So when a guy and 2 guys sat down to play, you'd have a team on each side, and they'd be sort of throwing these songs at each other. And one might be like, howie-ho, 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 howa, howie-ho, howa, howie-ho, howa, howie-ho, 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 howie-ho. And they just keep going. Now, that's a gentle one. Well, in time, they started getting a little more fierce. Hey, hookawabiju, hey, hookawabiju, hey, hookawabiju, hey, hookawabiju, hey, hookawabiju. So it's like it's like this building, this pulse, going, and then they would make their selection, and then it would stop. The music would stop. So there would be this kind of stuff going on. And this Anishinaabe guy lost his gun. And he's really frustrated now. He's so mad. And the Wyandot kid is getting ready to get up and leave. He's just going to walk away. And the Anishinaabe guy started cursing him and, calling him all kinds of names. And the Wyandot kid turned around and looked at him. And the Anishinaabe kid said, your life against my life. Let's do it that way. And then everybody in the crowd is like, no, we don't do it that way. We do not do that. They knew that could be a problem. But this kid was just adamant. He was so angry for losing his whole pile of furs, his knife, his gun, so he was really frustrated. And because he was being taunted, the Wyandot kid just sat down. He said, okay, that's where you want to be. And they played and they played. And the Anishinaabe kid lost it. He lost it. And he got up and started running away. Now, the Wyandot kid jumped up and went running after him. And as soon as he got close, I mean, it was a long race and everybody was watching this. But when he got close, the Anishinaabe guy turned around and the Wyandot kid stabbed him and he died. Now they had a problem. They had a big problem. You have the Anishinaabe people and you have the Wyandot people. What's going to happen here? Because this could turn into a blood feud. This could turn into something really horrible. And they had to decide what to do about it. So all the elders, the Wyandots and the elders of the Anishinaabe, they met together for hours and hours. And in the meantime, I just found a ladybug on my own neck. Just threw it in the trash. So anyway, so they're meeting together, trying to decide what to do. And the Anishinaabe elders said, we want his blood. We want his life. And the Wyandot people were trying to decide what's the best option. I mean, if we don't do that, what are we going to do? I mean, it might turn into something horrible. We need to even this out. We have to agree to this. And so they went to the kid, the elders, they called him in and they said, this is what the Anishinaabe people want. Are you prepared for this? Are you prepared to sacrifice, to give your life? And the kid said, I'll do it. Sure, I'll do it. Like I said, these guys were into showing no emotion, except for that game. That was pretty bad. So the kid asked, he said, but I only ask one thing, is that we wait till after the funeral, after the boy's funeral, and that I can be a part of the funeral. And the Anishinaabe people were like, okay. So in our traditions and a lot of the traditions, we have a 3-day wake and where the body is laid out and people are fed. And so this 3-day, 3-night thing, the Wyandot kid attended these and he made a real prominent play. He would just like all of a sudden kind of take over. I mean, it's like almost like the guy was arrogant. He'd sit right by the head of the body laid out where that would usually be a family spot. And man, these Anishinaabe guys are really, really angry with him. They just can't wait to end his life. In the meantime, the mother of the boy who was killed, the Anishinaabe woman her son was just lost, she is seeing everything happen. And she's worried about this. She's not only sad that she lost her son, but now she's seeing what could happen if these two tribes start at war with one another. So she goes up to him in the middle of the funeral. She walks up to him and she tells him, she says, son, I've lost my son. I've lost my own son. I have nobody to hunt for me anymore. Nobody to, bring furs, nobody to take care of me in my old age. She said, I want to adopt you as my son. Would you allow me to do that? Because if I adopt you, you'll live and, you'll take his place. And the Wyandot kid thought about it and he's just like, all right, I'll do that. I will. I'll go with you and I'll take care of you and I'll hunt for you and I'll make sure that you always have plenty to eat. And I'm not worried about any of these Anishinaabe young men around here. So, and that's what happened. It sort of saved the day because he got it. He realized what was going to happen. He was looking forward to his death in a way. He was prepared. He had his weapons and everything, but she saw it all and she realized this was not going to end well. At that point, he went and joined the Anishinaabe people and he became part of them. So it's one way a conflict was resolved back in that past. And these are important things, little insights back into culture and how things were, how a terrible thing could have happened, but it was resolved. But anyway, if anybody has anything to ask or say.
Tina Bogle says, "You're such a gifted artist."
Thanks. Thank you.
Yes, and I have because I type terribly, I'm just going to say this, is that Richard, it's such an honor to have you join the Museum of Native American History's family. And what is so amazing about you is that your passion of keeping tradition alive to pass on to future generations, from your gorgeous artwork of your pottery to the storytelling today, which brings out the kid in every one of us, and keeping language alive, and also join us maybe later this year with how you find shards of pottery and keep that technique and tradition alive, which we're going to call shards of history. If you have a better name, let me know. It's just honor.
You're welcome. It's been an honor for me. I really enjoyed it.
And for all of you out in internet world, please look up Richard Zane Smith on the interweb and learn and see his gorgeous pottery and all the incredible things that he does. And I know Valerie found just kind of landed on us today because she was looking up Richard on the interweb, and you don't have to do that. You can be a time traveler on the Museum of Native American History's website. We really do invite you to explore it. There's other storytellers that you can share with your family and friends. We invite you to sign up for our newsletter so you don't have to just at random find us, and you can see what the heck we're up to every month. And also we have about 3 events a month, and coming up next week on Thursday is the word of the year for us, indigenuity. Indigenuity. It is tradition meets innovation. And we have the incredible Professor Dan Wildcat from the Haskell Indian Nation University. It's a 3-series installment. And whether you're an artist or you're an engineer or you're an urban planner, it is the idea of taking tradition and looking at innovation to make sure that, our return of investment on our environment, is worthy to all of our relations. So from the Museum of Native American History to all of you out there in the world, thank you so much for joining us today. Don't tell anyone, but I believe we are going to open on April 2nd. We've been shut for a year. It'll be a slow opening. It will be time ticketed. Just watch the Museum of Native American History space to learn more. Thank you, Evan. Thank you, Richard. Thank you, everybody. See you next month for our next storyteller.
You're welcome. Yeah, you're welcome. Great seeing you too, Camila.
Oh, wait, pick me. There's always a craft with the storyteller, and Richard, we're sharing, if you go to the website, where there's a little craft of making masks of Kajakwe. So, now go over there and have a craft day.